The billionaire's manicured fingers clawed desperately at the muddy edge as she sank deeper into the quicksand, her designer boots already swallowed by the earth's hungry mouth. "Help me! Please, somebody!" Elena Carter's voice cracked with terror, echoing through the Vermont forest where no one worth millions should ever be dying alone. That's when Luke Bennett, a man who couldn't even afford new shoes for his daughter, heard the cry that would change 3 lives forever. But before I tell you how a struggling single dad became a billionaire's unlikely hero, let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, let me take you back to that foggy Friday morning when fate decided to play its most incredible hand. The alarm clock's harsh buzz cut through the pre-dawn darkness of Luke Bennett's bedroom at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before it was supposed to ring. He'd been awake for the past hour anyway, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that seemed to grow larger every time it rained. The October chill had already crept through the thin walls of their cabin, and he could hear the old furnace struggling to keep up. Another repair he couldn't afford this month. "Dad?" Chloe's voice drifted from the doorway, small and sleepy. His 8-year-old daughter stood there in her faded frozen pajamas, the ones with Elsa's face half worn off from too many washes, rubbing her eyes with one small fist. "Morning, sweetheart," Luke whispered, sitting up and opening his arms. She patted across the creaky floorboards and climbed into his embrace, still warm from sleep. "Ready for our Friday adventure?" It was their tradition. Every Friday before school, they'd hike the Moss Glen Falls Trail. It had started 2 years ago, right after Sarah left, when Luke didn't know how else to fill the crushing silence of mornings without her mother's presence. The hikes cost nothing but time, and they'd become sacred to both of them. "Can we look for the owl family again?" Chloe asked, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "Of course. But first, breakfast. Can't have my Explorer running on empty." 20 minutes later, they sat at their small kitchen table, sharing scrambled eggs and toast. Luke watched his daughter carefully spread grape jelly to every corner of her bread, her tongue poking out in concentration. The morning light was just beginning to filter through the window, casting long shadows across the worn linoleum floor. "Dad, Jenny's mom is taking them to Disney World for Thanksgiving," Chloe mentioned casually, though Luke caught the wistful note in her voice. His chest tightened. "That sounds fun for them." "Yeah." She took a small bite, then looked up at him with those green eyes that were so much like her mother's, it sometimes took his breath away. "I like our Thanksgivings better, though. Remember last year when we made that turkey out of construction paper because the real one burned?" Luke laughed, the tension easing. "And we ended up having grilled cheese sandwiches instead." "Best Thanksgiving ever," Chloe declared with the certainty only an 8-year-old could muster. By 6:30 they were on the trail, their breath forming small clouds in the crisp autumn air. The fog hung heavy between the trees, giving the forest an otherworldly quality. Chloe skipped ahead, her red raincoat, a hand-me-down from the Thompsons next door, bright against the muted browns and grays of late October. "Dad, look!" She pointed to a set of deer tracks in the muddy path. "Fresh ones." Luke smiled, pulling out the small notebook they used to document their findings. "Good eye, detective. What else do you notice?" As Chloe crouched to examine the tracks more closely, describing their size and direction with the seriousness of a wildlife biologist, Luke felt that familiar mixture of pride and worry. She was so bright, so curious about the world. She deserved so much more than he could give her. The rejection letter from the scholarship program at Riverside Academy still sat in his truck's glove compartment, unopened but not unread. Even with financial aid, the costs were impossible. "Dad, do you hear that?" Chloe suddenly stood, her head tilted. Luke listened. Beyond the usual forest sounds, birds beginning their morning songs, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, there was something else, faint but distinct. "Someone's yelling," Chloe said, her eyes wide. Luke heard it then too. A voice, high and desperate, carried on the wind. "Help! Somebody help me!" Without thinking, Luke grabbed Chloe's hand. "Stay close to me, okay?" They moved quickly through the trees following the voice. It grew louder, more frantic. Luke's mind raced through possibilities. Injured hiker, lost child, medical emergency. He pulled out his phone, but as usual in these woods, there was no signal. Please! Anyone! They burst through a thick stand of birch trees into a clearing Luke had never seen before, despite hiking these trails for years. The fog was thinner here, and what he saw made his blood run cold. 20 feet away, a woman was trapped in what looked like a patch of ordinary muddy ground, but Luke recognized it immediately. Quicksand. Not the Hollywood version that swallowed people whole in seconds, but the real thing, thick and viscous, that trapped and exhausted victims until they couldn't fight anymore. She was in up to her waist, her arms spread wide on the surface, trying to distribute her weight, but she was still sinking. "Don't move!" Luke called out, his army training from a decade ago suddenly sharp in his mind. "Stop struggling!" The woman's head snapped toward them. Even covered in mud, even in this desperate situation, Luke could see she was strikingly beautiful. High cheekbones, dark hair now matted with dirt, and eyes the color of winter sky. But it was the naked terror in those eyes that moved him to action. "Please," she gasped. "I can't. I've been here for an hour. I can't feel my legs anymore." Luke's mind went into overdrive. He looked around quickly, assessing resources. "Chloe, sweetheart, I need you to find me the longest, strongest branches you can. As many as you can carry. Can you do that?" Chloe nodded, her face pale but determined. "Like the walking sticks we make?" "Exactly like that." "Hurry, but be careful." As his daughter ran off, Luke turned back to the woman. "What's your name?" "Elena," she managed between labored breaths. "Elena Carter." "Okay, Elena. I'm Luke. I'm going to get you out, but I need you to trust me and do exactly what I say. Can you do that?" She nodded, tears cutting clean tracks through the mud on her face. Luke shrugged off his backpack and jacket, checking the distance. She was too far to reach directly without risking getting stuck himself. "How did you end up out here?" "I was hiking," Elena said, her voice shaky. "Started before dawn. I needed to clear my head, get away from—" She stopped, closing her eyes. "I wasn't watching where I was going." "Stupid. So stupid. Hey, look at me," Luke said firmly. "This isn't your fault. These bog pockets form after heavy rains. Even experienced hikers can miss them in the fog. You did the right thing spreading your weight like that." Chloe returned, her arms full of branches. "Dad, I got them." "Perfect, sweetheart. You're doing great." Luke quickly began laying the branches out, creating a platform he could distribute his weight across. "Elena, I'm going to come closer. When I tell you, I want you to lean back slightly, not too much, and try to work your legs free one at a time, like you're walking upstairs backward. I've tried, I know, but you'll have leverage this time, trust me." Luke belly crawled onto his makeshift platform, feeling the ground give slightly beneath him, but hold. The smell of decay and stagnant water filled his nostrils. He could see Elena more clearly now, her expensive-looking hiking gear, the smartwatch on her wrist, the kind of boots that cost more than Luke made in a week. "Give me your hands," he instructed. Their fingers met, hers ice-cold and trembling. Luke gripped tight. "On 3. 1, 2, 3." He pulled as Elena pushed, and for a moment nothing happened. Then, with a sick sucking sound, she moved an inch, then another. "It's working!" Chloe cheered from solid ground. "That's it," Luke encouraged. "Again. You're doing great, Elena. Pull by pull, inch by agonizing inch, they fought against the earth's grip." Elena's face was contorted with effort and pain, her expensive jacket tearing against the branches. Luke's arms burned, his back screaming from the awkward position, but he didn't let go. "Almost there," he grunted. "Chloe, get ready with my jacket." With one final, massive effort, Elena's legs came free with a sound like a giant boot being pulled from mud. Luke scrambled backward, pulling her onto solid ground where they both collapsed, breathing hard. "Dad, you did it!" Chloe rushed forward with Luke's jacket, which he immediately wrapped around Elena's shoulders. She was shaking violently, her lips tinged blue. "We need to get her warm," Luke said, his emergency training kicking in. "Elena, can you walk?" She tried to stand but immediately collapsed. "My legs, they're numb." Without hesitation, Luke scooped her up. She was lighter than he expected, all sharp angles and delicate bones beneath the muddy clothes. Our cabin's not far. Chloe, lead the way, sweetheart. The journey back seemed endless. Elena's head lolled against Luke's shoulder, her breathing shallow. Chloe ran ahead, then back like a worried sheepdog, her little face creased with concern. Is she going to be okay, Dad? She'll be fine once we get her warm, Luke assured her, though his own heart was racing. Hypothermia was no joke, and he had no idea how long Elena had really been trapped before they found her. Their cabin appeared through the trees like a haven, small, weathered, with smoke still trickling from the chimney. Luke kicked open the door and carried Elena straight to the couch near the wood stove. Chloe, get the big quilt from my bed and put the kettle on. Remember how I taught you? Yes, Dad. She ran off, her footsteps thundering up the stairs. Luke knelt beside Elena, checking her pulse, rapid but strong. Elena, I need to get these wet clothes off you. I'm going to get you some dry things, okay? Her eyes fluttered open. I'm okay. Just cold. So cold. Chloe returned with the quilt and Luke's old flannel pajamas. The kettle's on. You're an angel, Luke told her, meaning it. Can you go to your room for just a few minutes while I help Miss Elena change? Once Chloe was gone, Luke helped Elena out of her mud-soaked clothes with clinical efficiency, trying not to notice the designer labels or the way she shivered. He helped her into his old flannel pajamas. They hung loose on her frame, and wrapped her in every blanket they owned. Better? He asked. Yes, she whispered. Thank you. I really thought I was going to die out there. But you didn't, Luke said firmly. You're safe now. The kettle whistled and Chloe's voice called out, Can I come back? Yes, sweetheart. Chloe appeared with a steaming mug, walking carefully so as not to spill. I made hot chocolate. Mom always said. She stopped, glancing at Luke. Hot chocolate makes everything better. Elena accepted the mug with shaking hands, and Luke noticed Chloe had used their best mug, the one without any chips, with painted butterflies that Chloe had made in art class. Thank you, Elena said, her voice stronger now. What's your name? Chloe. I'm 8. Are you feeling better? Dad saved you. He was really brave. He was, Elena agreed, looking at Luke over the rim of the mug. You both were. Luke felt heat rise to his cheeks. Anyone would have done the same. No, Elena said quietly. They wouldn't have. An awkward silence fell, broken only by the crackling of the wood stove. Luke became acutely aware of their humble surroundings. The patched furniture, the water stain on the ceiling he'd been staring at that morning, Chloe's drawings taped to every available wall space. I should call someone for you, Luke offered. Family? Friends? They must be worried. Elena's expression shifted, something closing off in her eyes. No one's worried. There's no one to call. I came out here alone. Where's your car? At the Mountain View Hotel. I'm staying there for a few days. Luke knew the place, the luxury resort 20 miles away where rooms cost more per night than he made in a month. Dad, she can't go back yet, Chloe protested. She's still shaking. Chloe, it's okay, Elena interrupted. I'm feeling much better. If I could just maybe rest for a few more minutes? Of course, Luke said. Take all the time you need. As Elena sipped her hot chocolate, Chloe peppered her with questions in that uninhibited way children had. Where was she from? Boston. Did she like hiking? Usually. Had she ever seen Quicksand before? Only in movies. Luke watched the interaction, noting how Elena seemed to relax around his daughter, her shoulders losing some of their tension, a small smile playing at her lips as Chloe showed her the trail journal they kept. Look, we saw deer tracks this morning before we found you. And last week we saw a great horned owl. Dad says they're called tigers of the sky. Tigers of the sky, Elena repeated softly. I like that. The morning sun had fully broken through the fog now, streaming through the windows and highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air. Elena's color had returned, the blue tinge gone from her lips. I should go, she said finally, though she sounded reluctant. I've imposed enough. You haven't imposed at all, Luke insisted, but your clothes are still soaked. Chloe, can you check if Mrs. Thompson left any of her daughter's old clothes in the donation box? As Chloe ran off again, Elena looked at Luke. You've done so much already. Really, You can't walk back to the hotel in pajamas, Luke said practically, and I can't drive you. Truck's been broken down for 2 weeks. But the Thompsons next door, they'll be up by now. They can give you a ride. I don't want to trouble anyone else. It's no trouble. That's what people do up here. Help each other. Elena was quiet for a moment, studying him. You were in the military. It wasn't a question. Luke nodded. Army. Did my 4 years and got out. How did you know? The way you took control of the situation. The way you think. My father was Navy. Was? He died 5 years ago. She said it matter-of-factly, but Luke caught the flash of pain in her eyes. Chloe returned with an armful of clothes. These should fit. They're nice too. Jenny's mom always buys her nice stuff. After Elena changed, the jeans were a bit short, the sweater a bit tight, but everything was clean and dry. Luke walked her to the Thompsons' house. Chloe insisted on coming too, carrying Elena's muddy clothes in a plastic bag so she could wash them and remember her adventure. Bob Thompson, a retired mechanic with hands like ham hocks and a heart even bigger, didn't ask questions. Of course I'll drive her. You okay, miss? Look like you've been through the ringer. I'm fine now, thanks to these two, Elena said. Before getting in Bob's truck, Elena knelt down to Chloe's level. Thank you for the hot chocolate. It really did make everything better. You can come back and have more any time, Chloe said. We make it every Friday after our hike. Elena's smile was soft. I'd like that. She stood facing Luke. I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life. No thanks needed. Just be more careful next time. I will. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Would it be okay if I got your number, in case I wanted to return the clothes? Luke recited his number, watching her type it in with fingers that were still slightly trembling. Elena Carter, she said, offering her hand. Luke Bennett. Her handshake was firm, despite everything she'd been through. As Bob's truck disappeared down the dirt road, Chloe slipped her hand into Luke's. She was nice. Yeah, she was. Dad, do you think she'll really come back? Luke looked down at his daughter's hopeful face. I don't know, sweetheart. She's got her own life to get back to. They walked back to the cabin, Chloe chattering about their morning adventure, already turning it into a story she'd tell at school. Luke half listened, his mind replaying the morning's events. Elena Carter. Something about that name tugged at his memory, but he couldn't place it. Inside, the cabin felt different somehow. Elena's presence lingered, the mug she'd drunk from still on the coffee table, the indent in the couch cushions where she'd sat. Luke found himself looking at their home through what he imagined her eyes might have seen. The shabby furniture, the outdated everything, the obvious signs of financial struggle. Dad, we're going to be late for school. Chloe's voice snapped him back to reality. The rest of the day passed in a blur of normalcy. Luke dropped Chloe at school, went to his job at the hardware store, dealt with difficult customers and a delivery mix-up, picked Chloe up from after-school care, made dinner, spaghetti with sauce from a jar, helped with homework, supervised bath time, read 2 chapters of Charlotte's Web, and tucked his daughter into bed with her collection of stuffed animals standing guard. It wasn't until he was sitting alone in the living room, the wood stove crackling softly, that his phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Elena. I wanted to thank you again. I've been thinking about what happened all day. You and Chloe were my angels. I'd really like to return the clothes in person if that's okay. Would Saturday work? Luke stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. Saturday's fine. Morning is best. Chloe has soccer at noon. 10 a.m.? See you then. He set the phone aside, unease prickling at his spine. In his experience, when worlds collided like this, his world and the world of people who stayed at the Mountain View Hotel, someone usually got hurt. But then he thought of Chloe's excited face, the way Elena had smiled at his daughter's chatter, the genuine warmth in her thank you. Maybe, just this once, it would be different. Saturday morning dawned crisp and clear. Chloe had been up since 6, had changed outfits 3 times, and had helped Luke clean the cabin until it was as presentable as possible. She'd even picked some late wildflowers from the yard and put them in a mason jar on the table. "Do you think she'll like them?" Chloe asked for the 5th time. "She'll love them," Luke assured her, though his own nerves were jangling. He'd spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing between his 2 good shirts. At exactly 10 a.m., a knock came at the door. Luke opened it to find Elena standing there, but this was a different Elena than the mud-covered, desperate woman from yesterday. This Elena wore designer jeans that probably cost more than Luke's monthly grocery budget, a cashmere sweater that looked impossibly soft, and subtle makeup that enhanced her already striking features. She carried a large basket and the borrowed clothes in an expensive-looking garment bag. "Hi," she said, and there was something almost shy in her smile. "Hi," Luke replied, suddenly feeling tongue-tied. "Miss Elena." Chloe squeezed past Luke, bouncing with excitement. "You came back!" "Of course I did. I promised, didn't I?" Elena held out the basket. "I brought some things to say thank you." They moved into the living room, and Chloe immediately began exploring the basket's contents with delighted gasps. There were gourmet cookies, hot chocolate mix, the really fancy kind, Dad. Local honey, jam, fresh bread from the resort's bakery, and at the bottom, 2 wrapped packages. "Can I open mine?" Chloe asked, eyes wide. Elena nodded, watching with evident pleasure as Chloe tore through the wrapping to reveal a beautiful leather-bound journal and a set of colored pencils. "For your trail journal," Elena explained. "I noticed you were almost out of pages in your old one." "Dad, look! These pencils have my name on them." Chloe showed Luke the personalized pencils, each one engraved with Chloe Bennett, Nature Explorer. Luke's throat tightened. "Elena, this is too much." "No," she said firmly. "It's not nearly enough." "Open yours." Inside Luke's package was a high-quality Swiss Army knife, the kind he'd admired in catalogs but would never buy for himself. "I noticed yours was pretty worn," Elena said. "Every trail guide needs good equipment." "Thank you," Luke managed, touched beyond words. They spent the next hour in comfortable conversation. Elena seemed genuinely interested in their trail journal, asking Chloe about each entry, laughing at her drawings, gasping appropriately at her stories of wildlife encounters. She fit into their small living room like she belonged there, tucked into the corner of their worn couch, holding her mug of coffee, in the butterfly mug again, Chloe had insisted, like it was fine china. "So what brings you to Vermont?" Luke asked eventually. "Besides the near-death experiences in Quicksand." Elena's smile faltered slightly. "I needed to get away. Think about some things. Make some decisions." She paused, seeming to weigh her words. "My life in Boston is complicated." "Complicated how?" Chloe asked, with her characteristic directness. "Chloe, that's not polite," Luke began. "It's okay," Elena said. "Well, I run a company. A big company. And sometimes that means making choices that affect a lot of people. It can be overwhelming." "Like being a teacher," Chloe said sagely. "Mrs. Patterson says being responsible for 28 kids is overwhelming sometimes." Elena laughed, a genuine, delighted sound. "Exactly like that." "What kind of company?" Luke asked, though something in his gut told him he might not want to know the answer. "Technology, mostly. Carter Industries." The name hit Luke like a physical blow. Carter Industries. Of course. Elena Carter. She wasn't just rich. She was billionaire rich. Featured in Forbes rich. He'd read an article about her last month while waiting at the dentist's office. The youngest female CEO of a Fortune 500 company. The woman who'd inherited her father's empire and doubled its worth in 5 years. She must have seen something in his expression because she added quietly, "That's why I didn't want to call anyone yesterday. Sometimes I just need to be nobody for a while." "You're not nobody," Chloe said firmly. "You're Miss Elena who likes hot chocolate and owls." Elena's eyes misted. "You know what, Chloe? That's exactly who I want to be." Luke's phone buzzed, a reminder about soccer practice. We should get ready for your game, sweetheart. Do you want to come? Chloe asked Elena eagerly. I'm not very good, but it's fun. Chloe, I'm sure Miss Elena has other plans. I don't, actually, Elena said, looking at Luke. If it's okay with you? And that's how Luke found himself sitting on cold bleachers next to a billionaire watching 8-year-olds chase a soccer ball with more enthusiasm than skill. Elena cheered for Chloe like she'd known her for years, jumping up when she made a good pass, groaning sympathetically when she tripped over her own feet. She's wonderful, Elena said during halftime. You've done an amazing job raising her. She makes it easy, Luke replied, watching Chloe share her orange slices with a teammate. Most days, anyway. On your own? Luke nodded. Her mom left when she was 6. Said she wasn't cut out for this life. He gestured vaguely, encompassing the small-town soccer field, the modest families around them, the ordinary Saturday afternoon. Wanted bigger things. And you? This is all the big I need, Luke said simply. Elena was quiet for a long moment. I envy that, knowing what's enough. After the game, a 3-3 tie that Chloe celebrated like a World Cup victory, Elena took them to lunch at the local diner. She seemed to delight in the vinyl booths and laminated menus, ordering a cheeseburger and fries with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been living on salad. Best burger I've had in years, she declared, stealing one of Chloe's onion rings. That's 'cause Lou makes them with love, Chloe informed her seriously. He says love is the secret ingredient in everything. Lou sounds like a wise man. As they were finishing, a couple at the next table started arguing. The man's voice rose, harsh and demanding, berating the woman for spending too much, for not earning enough, for a dozen other failures. Luke saw Elena go rigid, her knuckles white as she gripped her water glass. We should go, Luke said quietly, already signaling for the check. Outside, Elena took several deep breaths. I'm sorry. That just reminded you of someone? She looked at him sharply, then away. Something like that. They walked back to Luke's truck in silence. Chloe had run ahead to pet the Andersons' golden retriever, leaving Luke and Elena alone. I should tell you something, Elena said suddenly. The reason I came to Vermont, the reason I was hiking alone at dawn in unfamiliar woods. She stopped walking, turning to face him. There's a man in Boston. Richard Cromwell. We've been involved. He wants to marry me. Everyone thinks it's perfect, the merger of two empires, but he's... She stopped, choosing her words carefully. He's not a kind man. That argument in there? That could have been us in 5 years, or 1 year, or next month. Luke didn't know what to say, so he just nodded, letting her continue. I came here to decide. To figure out if I was being foolish, throwing away a perfect match because of some feeling in my gut. Then I got stuck in that quicksand, and all I could think was that I was going to die having never really lived. Never made a choice that was just mine. Not the company's. Not my board's. Not society's. Just mine. And now? Now I know I'm not going back to him. I'm not going back to a lot of things. She smiled, small but genuine. You and Chloe reminded me that there's a different way to live. A better way. Before Luke could respond, Chloe came running back. Dad! Can Miss Elena come to our pizza night tomorrow? Please? I'm sure she needs to get back to Boston. Actually, Elena interrupted, I extended my stay. If the invitation's genuine, I'd love to come. That evening, after Elena had left and Chloe was in bed, Luke stood at his window looking out at the dark woods. He thought about Elena Carter, billionaire, eating dinner at their scarred kitchen table. He thought about the way she'd looked at Chloe like she was something precious. He thought about the loneliness he'd glimpsed behind her polished exterior, a loneliness that matched his own. His phone buzzed. Elena. Thank you for today, for letting me be part of something real. See you tomorrow. Luke typed back. We're glad you came. Fair warning, Chloe insists on pineapple pizza. Pineapple pizza sounds perfect. And somehow, Luke believed she meant it. Sunday evening arrived with a gentle rain that pattered against the cabin windows. Luke had spent more time than he cared to admit cleaning, while Chloe had drawn a welcome sign that now hung on the door. Pizza party at the Bennetts. Special guest, Miss Elena. When Elena knocked, she was dressed down in jeans and a simple sweater, carrying another basket, this one with salad ingredients and what looked like very expensive wine. I figured pizza needs balance, she said with a grin. They made dinner together, the small kitchen becoming a dance of reaching around each other, laughing when flour ended up everywhere, Chloe directing operations from her perch on the counter. Elena showed them how to toss pizza dough. My college job, she explained, sending the dough spinning, while Luke chopped vegetables and Chloe carefully arranged toppings. This one's mine, Chloe declared, adding a third layer of cheese to her section. Extra everything. A girl after my own heart, Elena said, sneaking pepperoni onto her portion. As they ate, Elena told stories of her travels, seeing the northern lights in Iceland, getting lost in Tokyo, swimming with dolphins in New Zealand. Chloe hung on every word, eyes sparkling with dreams of adventure. Have you been everywhere? Chloe asked in awe. Not everywhere. I've never been to a place where people make pizza with this much love, Elena said, making Chloe beam. After dinner, while Luke did dishes, Elena and Chloe sat on the floor with the trail journal, planning future hikes. There's a place called Devil's Gulch, Chloe was saying. Dad says we can't go until I'm older because it's dangerous. Your dad's smart. Some adventures are worth waiting for. Luke watched them from the kitchen, Elena's elegant fingers tracing trail maps. Chloe's head bent close to hers and felt something shift in his chest, something that had been frozen since Sarah left. When Chloe finally went to bed, after 3 stories from Elena about the olden days when phones had cords, Luke and Elena sat on the porch, listening to the rain. She's going to expect you every Sunday now, Luke warned, only half joking. Would that be so terrible? Luke looked at her, this billionaire who seemed happier on his weathered porch than he imagined she was in any boardroom. Elena, what are we doing here? I don't know, she admitted. I just know that I feel more like myself here than I have in years. Is that crazy? Maybe, but good crazy. She smiled, then her expression grew serious. Luke, I need to tell you something else. About Richard. He doesn't accept no easily. When I go back, when I officially end things, it's going to get ugly. The media will be involved. He might try to dig up dirt on anyone close to me. Are you warning me off? I'm giving you a choice. You and Chloe, you don't need that kind of chaos in your lives. Luke was quiet for a moment, thinking of his daughter's joy, of Elena's loneliness, of his own carefully guarded heart. You know what Chloe said to me after you left yesterday? She said you looked sad even when you smiled, and we should help you feel better because that's what friends do. Elena's eyes filled with tears, 8 years old and already wiser than most adults. So to answer your question, we're being friends. Whatever that means, whatever comes with it. Elena reached over and squeezed his hand. Thank you. They sat in comfortable silence until Elena's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went pale. What is it? She showed him the screen, a text from an unknown number. Saw you at that pathetic diner. Does Cromwell know you're slumming it? He will soon. I have to go, Elena said, standing abruptly. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have come here, shouldn't have involved you. Hey, Luke caught her arm gently. Stop. You're not running from this alone. You don't understand. Richard has investigators, lawyers, connections everywhere. If he finds out about you and Chloe, then he finds out. Elena, I spent 4 years in Afghanistan. I don't scare easily. She looked at him, rain misting her hair, fear and hope warring in her eyes. Why would you do this? You barely know me. I know enough. I know you make my daughter laugh. I know you eat pizza with joy. I know you saved yourself in that quicksand by spreading your weight. That takes presence of mind most people don't have. And I know you're trying to choose a better life. That's worth standing up for. Elena kissed his cheek, quick and soft. You really are a hero, Luke Bennett. No, just a dad who teaches his daughter to do the right thing. Hard to teach if I don't model it. She left with promises to text when she got back to the hotel, but Luke could see the walls going up, the billionaire CEO replacing the woman who'd made pizza in his kitchen. He wondered if he'd see her again. The next 3 days passed without word from Elena. Luke went through the motions of his routine, work, school pickup, dinner, homework, but his mind kept drifting to that text message, to the fear in her eyes, to the way she'd built walls around herself before driving away. Chloe asked about Miss Elena every morning, and Luke ran out of ways to say, "I don't know," without crushing her hope. On Thursday morning, his phone rang with an unknown Boston number. "Mr. Bennett? This is Margaret Chen from Carter Industries. Ms. Carter asked me to call you." Luke's stomach dropped. "Is she okay?" "She's managing. She wanted me to tell you that she's handling the situation, but it would be best if you didn't try to contact her for a while, for your safety and your daughter's." "That's not her call to make." There was a pause. "Mr. Bennett, you don't understand what Richard Cromwell is capable of. He's already hired investigators. They know about you, about your daughter, about your financial situation. He's looking for leverage. Let him look." "Mr. Bennett, tell Elena I said to stop making decisions for other people. She knows where to find us." He hung up, his hand shaking with anger. Not at Elena, but at this Cromwell character who thought money meant he could control people's lives. Luke had seen plenty of men like that in the service. Officers who confused rank with righteousness, who thought power meant they could break the people under them. That afternoon, when he picked Chloe up from school, her teacher pulled him aside. "Mr. Bennett, there was a man here today asking questions about Chloe. Said he was from a scholarship foundation, but something felt off. Security asked him to leave, but I thought you should know." Luke's blood ran cold. What did he look like? Expensive suit, dark hair, drove a black Mercedes. Very pushy. "If he comes back, call the police immediately. And call me." That evening, after Chloe was asleep, Luke sat on his porch with his father's old shotgun across his lap, watching the tree line. He wasn't expecting trouble, not really, but old habits died hard. You protected what was yours. Around midnight, headlights cut through the darkness. Not one car, but 3. They pulled up to his cabin like a presidential motorcade, all black SUVs with tinted windows. Luke stood, the shotgun visible, but not raised. The middle car's door opened, and Elena stepped out. Even in the darkness, Luke could see she looked exhausted. Shadows under her eyes, her shoulders curved with tension. But when she saw him, something in her face eased. "Planning to shoot someone?" she asked, a weak attempt at humor. "Depends on why you brought an army to my door." "Security team. Richard's been escalating. My board insisted." She gestured to the men getting out of the other vehicles, all earpieces and stern expressions. "Luke, I'm so sorry. I tried to stay away to keep you out of this, but you're bad at making other people's choices for them?" She laughed, short and surprised. "Margaret said you were angry." "Not at you, though next time you want to protect me, maybe ask first if I need protecting. I'm not used to people who don't need something from me." "Well, get used to it." He set the shotgun aside. "Want some coffee?" "You look like you need it." She turned to her security team. "Wait here." "Ma'am, that's not advisable." "I said wait here." Inside, Luke's small kitchen felt even smaller with the knowledge of the security team outside. Elena sat at the table, running her fingers over Chloe's latest drawing, a picture of the 3 of them labeled "My Family" that made Luke's chest tight every time he looked at it. "She includes me," Elena whispered. "Kids are optimists." Luke set a mug in front of her. "So what happened?" "I ended it with Richard, publicly. Gave an interview to the Wall Street Journal about taking the company in a new direction, one that didn't include merger talks with Cromwell Enterprises. He didn't take it well." Define not well. "He showed up at my office, made a scene. Security had to escort him out. Then he called every board member, telling them I was having a mental breakdown. When that didn't work, he started the investigators. Did you know you're 3 months behind on your truck payment?" Luke's jaw clenched. "I'm handling it." "I know you are. But Richard doesn't care about truth, just ammunition. He found out about Sarah leaving, about your discharge from the army, about every hard choice you've ever made, and he's ready to twist all of it into a story about how you're some kind of gold digger who's manipulating me. Let him try. Luke, you don't understand. He owns media outlets. He can destroy your reputation, make it impossible for you to work, maybe even affect custody of Chloe." "Stop." Luke sat across from her, taking her hands. They were ice cold. I've been through worse than some rich bully with a grudge. And Chloe has a right to choose her own friends, even if they come with complications. I'm not worth this risk. That's not your call to make either. Elena pulled her hands away, standing to pace. You don't even know me. Not really. You know the woman who got stuck in quicksand, who eats pizza and watches 8-year-olds play soccer. You don't know the CEO who's laid off thousands of people, who's crushed competitors, who's made choices that kept your father's company alive, that provided for families who depend on those jobs, that did what had to be done even when it hurt. Luke stood too, blocking her pacing. Elena, I don't need you to be perfect. Neither does Chloe. Why? The word came out broken. Why are you being so kind to me? Because you need it. Because we want to. Because sometimes that's enough. She kissed him then, sudden and desperate, tasting of tears and coffee. Luke froze for a moment, then pulled her closer, feeling her shake against him. I'm scared, she whispered against his mouth. I know. It's okay to be scared. They stood there holding each other until Luke heard something, a creak on the porch that wasn't wind. He moved Elena behind him just as the door exploded open. It wasn't Cromwell. It was his men, 3 of them, all muscle and menace. Elena's security was nowhere to be seen. Ms. Carter, the lead one said with mock politeness, Mr. Cromwell would like a word. Get out of my house, Luke said quietly. The man laughed. Army boy wants to play hero. How much is she paying you? Cromwell will double it. I said get out. The man stepped forward, and Luke moved faster than thought, muscle memory from years of training taking over. The man went down hard, but the other 2 were already moving. Luke heard Elena scream, heard something break, felt pain explode across his ribs. Stop! A new voice, Chloe, standing on the stairs in her pajamas, eyes wide with terror. Stop hurting my dad! Everyone froze. The man Luke had dropped was getting up, blood streaming from his nose. Cromwell didn't say anything about a kid. Leave, Elena said, her CEO voice sharp as glass. Now, or I'll have you all arrested for breaking and entering, assault, and traumatizing a minor. Your choice. The men looked at each other, calculating. Finally, the bleeder nodded. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Elena said. Tell Richard if he comes near this family again, I'll destroy him. And unlike him, I don't make empty threats. After they left, after Elena's security team miraculously reappeared, they were called away, ma'am. False emergency. After the police took statements and photographs, Luke found himself in his bathroom with Elena cleaning a cut above his eye while Chloe sat on the counter holding the first aid kit. You were brave, Dad, Chloe said solemnly. So were you, sweetheart. Is Miss Elena going to be okay? Elena paused in her ministrations. I'm going to be fine, Chloe. I'm sorry those men scared you. Bad people don't win if good people stick together, Chloe said, with the confidence of someone who'd learned life lessons from Disney movies. Right, Dad? Right, baby. Elena's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went white. Oh, God. She showed Luke the screen. A news alert? Carter Industries CEO's secret romance, single father or gold digger? The article was accompanied by a photo clearly taken that day. Luke at school pickup, Chloe visible beside him. They published Chloe's photo, Elena breathed. I'm so sorry, Luke. I never thought... Dad. Chloe looked between them, picking up on the tension. What's wrong? Luke made a decision. Chloe, remember when we talked about how some people have different amounts of money? She nodded. Well, Miss Elena has a lot of money. And some people think that means they can be mean to her or to people she cares about, like us. That's stupid, Chloe said firmly. Yes, it is. But for a little while, things might be weird. People might say things about us that aren't true. Take pictures of us. But we're going to stick together, okay? Like a team? Exactly like a team. Elena's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and grimaced. It's my board chairman. I have to see... Take it, Luke said. She stepped outside, and through the window Luke could see her pacing, gesticulating, her voice rising occasionally. Chloe curled into his side. Dad, is Miss Elena in trouble because of us? No, sweetheart. She's in trouble because some people think money is more important than being happy. That's silly. You can't hug money. You're absolutely right. Elena came back in, looking defeated. The board wants me to come back immediately. They're calling an emergency meeting. They think this, she gestured between them, is a distraction that's affecting stock prices. Then go. She looked at him, surprised. Just like that? Elena, you have responsibilities, I get that, but Chloe and I will still be here when you're done fighting your battles. What if they make me choose? Then you choose, but make sure it's your choice, not theirs. She knelt in front of Chloe. I have to go away for a little bit, but I want you to know that meeting you and your dad is the best thing that's happened to me in a very long time. Will you come back? If you'll have me. Chloe hugged her tight. Promise? I promise. As Elena's motorcade pulled away, Luke stood on his porch with Chloe, watching the taillights disappear. The night was quiet again, but it felt different now, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. Dad, are we going to be okay? Luke thought about the photo online, about Cromwell's threats, about Elena fighting her board, about all the complications that had just entered their simple life. Then he thought about Elena's smile when Chloe drew her into their family picture, about the way she fit at their table, about the kiss that had felt like coming home. Yeah, sweetheart, we're going to be okay. The next morning, Luke's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters had found his number, all wanting to know about his relationship with Elena Carter. He turned it off and got Chloe ready for school, only to find news vans outside. Mr. Bennett, how long have you been seeing Miss Carter? Is it true you saved her life? Are you after her money? Luke put Chloe in his truck, the one he was behind on payments for, and slowly backed out, ignoring the shouted questions. At school, the principal met them at the door. Mr. Bennett, given the situation, we think it might be best if Chloe stayed home for a few days, just until things calm down. You're punishing my daughter because of news coverage. Not punishing. Protecting. The other parents are concerned. Luke felt rage building but kept his voice level. Concerned about what? That she might get them in the society pages? Dad? Chloe tugged his hand. It's okay. I don't want to go if everyone's going to be weird. His heart broke a little. 8 years old and she was already learning that different meant difficult. They spent the day at home playing board games and baking cookies, pretending the news vans weren't outside. Luke's boss called. Don't bother coming in until this blows over. The hardware store couldn't afford the circus. By evening, Luke was ready to punch something. Then his phone rang with Elena's number. Are you watching the news? She asked without preamble. No, we're avoiding it. Turn on channel 7. Luke did, and there was Elena at a press conference, looking every inch the powerful CEO in a severe black suit. Ms. Carter, can you address the rumors about your relationship with Luke Bennett? I can do better than that, Elena said, her voice clear and strong. I can tell you the truth. Luke Bennett saved my life when I was trapped in Quicksand. He and his daughter Chloe showed me more genuine kindness in one day than I've experienced in years. They've become dear friends, and anyone who tries to cheapen that with tawdry speculation should be ashamed. Are you saying it's not romantic? Elena looked directly at the camera. I'm saying that Luke Bennett is twice the person Richard Cromwell will ever be. He's a devoted father, a veteran who served his country with honor, and someone who works hard every day to provide for his daughter. If Richard Cromwell spent less time trying to destroy good people and more time examining his own character, perhaps I wouldn't have ended our relationship. Ms. Carter, Richard Cromwell claims you're having a mental health crisis. The only crisis I had was realizing I was about to marry a man who views people as possessions. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. She walked off, leaving the reporters shouting questions. Luke realized he was smiling, probably for the first time all day. Dad, Miss Elena's tough, Chloe said admiringly. Yeah, she is. His phone rang immediately. Elena again. Too much, she asked. Perfect. Though Cromwell's probably having a stroke. Good. How are you two holding up? Luke looked at Chloe, who was drawing another picture, this one of Elena as a superhero. We're managing, though I'm apparently unemployed now. Luke, I'm so sorry. Not your fault. Bob Thompson offered me work at his garage, under the table until this dies down. I could... No. Whatever you're about to offer, no. We're not taking your money, Elena. You're impossibly stubborn. You like that about me. I do, she admitted softly. I really do. Luke, the board's given me an ultimatum. Either I end all contact with you, or they'll call for a vote of no confidence. What are you going to do? What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to call their bluff, but it might get worse before it gets better. We can handle worse. You shouldn't have to. Elena, I need you to understand something. You're not a burden. You're not a complication we're enduring. You're someone we choose. Every day, despite everything, we choose you. Can you accept that? There was a long pause. I'm trying to learn how. After they hung up, Luke found Chloe had fallen asleep on the couch, her superhero drawing half finished. He carried her to bed, then sat in the dark living room thinking about choices and consequences. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo was attached. Sarah, his ex-wife, with a man he didn't recognize. The message read, "Your ex is very interested in custody arrangements, especially now that you're exposing your daughter to dangerous situations. Call me. RC." Luke deleted the message, but his hands were shaking. Cromwell had found Sarah. The one thing Luke feared more than anything was losing Chloe, and Cromwell knew it. He stepped onto the porch, needing air, and found Bob Thompson walking up with a casserole dish. "Figured you might not feel like cooking," Bob said gruffly. "Marion made extra." "Thanks, Bob. This'll blow over, you know. These rich folks, they get bored and move on to the next scandal." "What if they don't?" Bob set the casserole on the porch rail and pulled out his pipe. "You know, 40 years ago, Marion's father didn't think I was good enough for her. I was just some grease monkey, and she was the bank president's daughter. He did everything he could to break us up. Threatened to disown her, had his friends fire me, even tried to pay me to leave town. What did you do?" "Married her anyway. Figured if our love couldn't survive some rich man's tantrum, it wasn't worth having. Been 42 years now. Her father? He died alone and bitter, still convinced money was more important than happiness. Elena and I aren't... It's not like that." Bob chuckled. "Son, I've seen how you look at her. More importantly, I've seen how she looks at you. And that little girl of yours? She's already planning the wedding." After Bob left, Luke sat with the casserole, thinking about love and courage and what he was willing to fight for. Inside, Chloe slept peacefully, unaware that her mother was being weaponized against them. Somewhere in Boston, Elena was facing down a board of directors who thought her happiness was less important than stock prices. And Richard Cromwell was out there, plotting, convinced that money could buy him anything, even Elena's heart. His phone rang. "Elena." "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Board meetings in 6 hours. They've given me the weekend to reconsider my position. Luke, he contacted Sarah, didn't he?" "How did you..." "Because that's what I'd do if I were him." Go for the jugular. "Has she responded?" "I don't know. We haven't talked in 2 years. I have lawyers, Luke, good ones. If she tries anything..." "Elena, I need to handle this part myself. Sarah's complicated. If she thinks there's money involved, she'll definitely make a play for custody. But if she realizes it's just me and Chloe, same as always, she might leave us alone." "So you need me to stay away?" "No, I need you to be smart. Let Cromwell think he's winning for now. Let the media get bored. And then, when no one's watching, we figure out what this is between us." "What if I don't want to wait? What if I'm tired of other people dictating my life?" "Then you fight. But you fight smart. You've built an empire, Elena. You didn't do that by charging ahead without a plan." She was quiet for a moment. "When did you get so wise?" "Single dad for 2 years. You learn things." "Like what?" "Like sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you care about is let them fight their own battles, and then be there when they're done, with bandages and hot chocolate." "Promise you'll be there? You and Chloe?" "Promise." They talked until dawn, about nothing and everything, and when Luke finally hung up to wake Chloe for their Saturday morning hike, He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate kind that wishes for miracles, but the steady kind that knows storms pass and life goes on. The weekend brought a strange sort of peace. The news vans left. Apparently some celebrity had a meltdown in Los Angeles. Luke and Chloe hiked their usual trail, went to the farmer's market, had movie night with too much popcorn. Almost normal, except for the way people whispered and stared, except for Elena's absence like a missing tooth. Sunday night, Luke's phone rang. Sarah. So, you're famous now? She said without preamble, her voice carrying that old edge of mockery. What do you want, Sarah? Is it true? About you and the billionaire? We're friends. Sarah laughed, sharp and bitter. Right, friends. Luke, you couldn't even keep me happy. What makes you think you can handle someone like her? I don't need to handle anyone. And you left because you wanted more than I could give you. That's on you, not me. This Cromwell guy says he'll pay me to file for custody. Says you're putting Chloe in danger. Luke's grip on the phone tightened. You haven't seen Chloe in 2 years. You didn't even send a birthday card. Doesn't mean I don't have rights. Sarah, listen to me very carefully. If you try to take Chloe, I'll fight you with everything I have. And so will Elena. You think Cromwell has lawyers? Elena Carter could buy and sell him 3 times over. You'll lose, and you'll lose publicly. You're threatening me. I'm telling you the truth. Chloe is happy. She's loved. She doesn't need you coming back and disrupting her life for a payday. There was a long pause. She really doesn't ask about me? No, Luke said gently. She doesn't. I was a terrible mother. You were unhappy. There's a difference. Do you hate me? No, Sarah. I just wish you'd wanted what we had. And this Elena person? She wants it. Luke thought about Elena making pizza in their kitchen, cheering at soccer games, reading to Chloe with voices for all the characters. Yeah, she does. Then she's either crazy or you've changed. Maybe both. Sarah sighed. Tell Cromwell to shove his money. I won't be his puppet. But Luke? If this goes bad, if Chloe gets hurt because of this circus, I will come for custody. Fair enough. After she hung up, Luke sat in the dark, relief and worry warring in his chest. One threat down, but Sarah's words echoed. What makes you think you can handle someone like her? Monday morning arrived with an unexpected frost that silvered the grass outside Luke's window. He was making breakfast when his phone buzzed with a news alert that made him nearly drop the spatula. Carter Industries Board calls emergency vote. CEO's position in jeopardy. Chloe looked up from her cereal. Dad, what's wrong? Nothing, sweetheart. Just grown-up stuff. But Chloe wasn't fooled. Is it about Miss Elena? Is she in trouble because of us? Before Luke could answer, his phone rang. Margaret Chen, Elena's assistant. Mr. Bennett, Ms. Carter asked me to call. The board meeting is happening now. She wanted you to know that regardless of the outcome, she stands by her decision. What decision? She refused to sign a statement saying your relationship was purely professional. She told them, and I quote, I won't lie about people I care about to make you comfortable. Luke sank into a chair. She's going to lose her company. Perhaps, but she said to tell you she's already lost things that mattered more by not fighting for them. After Margaret hung up, Luke sat staring at his phone, torn between admiration and frustration. Elena was sacrificing everything she'd built, and for what? For a maybe, for a possibility, for something that had barely begun. Dad, we should go there, Chloe said suddenly. Go where? To Boston. To help Miss Elena. That's what friends do. Chloe, we can't just... Why not? You always say we should stand up for what's right. Miss Elena's standing up for us. Shouldn't we stand up for her? Out of the mouths of babes, Luke thought. He looked at his daughter, at her fierce determination, and made a decision that would have seemed insane a month ago. Go get dressed. Wear your nicest clothes. The drive to Boston took 3 hours. Luke's old truck wheezed and protested at highway speeds, but it held together. Chloe spent the trip practicing what she would say to the mean board people, while Luke white-knuckled the steering wheel and wondered if he was about to make everything worse. The Carter Industries building was a gleaming tower of glass and steel that seemed to scrape the sky. Luke had never felt more out of place, standing in the marble lobby in his only suit, the one from his wedding, while security guards eyed them suspiciously. "We're here to see Elena Carter," Luke told the receptionist, who looked at them like they'd asked to see the Pope. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but Dad, look." Chloe pointed at a television screen showing financial news. Elena's face was there, with a headline scrolling beneath. Carter Industries stock plummets as board challenges CEO. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave," the receptionist said, already reaching for security. That's when the elevator dinged and Margaret Chen stepped out, looking harried but unsurprised. "Mr. Bennett, Chloe, this way quickly." She ushered them into the elevator, swiping a keycard for the executive floor. "How did you know we were here?" Luke asked. "Miss Carter predicted you might come. She said, if Luke Bennett is half the man I think he is, he won't let me fight alone. The board's in recess for 15 minutes. She's in her office." The executive floor was all hushed carpets and intimidating artwork. Margaret led them down a hallway lined with portraits of stern-looking former CEOs, all men, until they reached massive double doors. "Go on," Margaret said. "I'll stand guard." Luke knocked and entered to find Elena standing at floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city below. She was in full CEO armor, a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, her hair in a severe bun, everything about her screaming power and control, except for her hands, which were shaking. "You came," she said without turning around. Chloe insisted. "Said we couldn't let you fight the mean board people alone." Elena turned then, and the professional mask cracked when she saw them. "You drove all this way?" "Miss Elena!" Chloe ran to her, wrapping her arms around Elena's waist. "Are you okay? Are they being awful to you?" Elena knelt down, her composure crumbling further. "I'm okay, sweetie. Just tired of fighting battles." "Then stop fighting them," Luke said. "Walk away." Elena looked up at him, surprised. "What?" "This company, this life. Is it making you happy? Really happy? Or are you just holding on to it because it's what's expected?" "It's my father's legacy." "Your father is dead, Elena, and from what you've told me, he wouldn't want you miserable just to keep his name on a building." Elena stood slowly, Chloe still holding her hand. "If I walk away, Cromwell wins. He'll spin it as me having a breakdown, being unfit. So let him. Elena, you're worth $60 billion. You could buy another company tomorrow if you wanted. Or you could do something else entirely. But staying here fighting these people who don't value you as a person, that's what's really letting him win. You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. It's just not easy." A knock interrupted them. Margaret's head appeared. "They're reconvening." Elena looked at Luke and Chloe, then at the portrait of her father hanging behind her desk. She pulled the pins from her hair, letting it fall around her shoulders, then took off her suit jacket and tossed it on the chair. "What are you doing?" Luke asked. "Something I should have done years ago." "Come with me?" They walked into the boardroom together, Elena in her silk blouse and pencil skirt, Luke in his wedding suit, and Chloe in her Sunday best dress with the butterfly pattern. 12 board members sat around a massive table, all turning to stare at this unlikely trio. "Gentlemen," Elena said calmly, "and Mrs. Patterson, I'd like you to meet Luke Bennett and his daughter Chloe, the people you've been so concerned about." "Ms. Carter, this is highly irregular," the chairman began. "Everything about this has been irregular, Tom. You've let Richard Cromwell manipulate you into questioning my competence because I dared to have a personal life. You've valued stock prices over people. You've forgotten that this company was built on innovation and risk-taking, not cowardice and conformity." "Ms. Carter, I'm not finished." Elena's voice could have cut glass. "I've doubled this company's value in 5 years. I've launched products that have changed how millions of people live and work. I've done everything asked of me and more. And in return, you want to control who I can be friends with, who I can care about? The relationship is causing instability. No, your reaction to it is causing instability. But that's about to end." Elena pulled a document from her pocket. "This is my resignation, effective immediately." Gasps around the table. The chairman went pale. "Elena, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. For the first time in years, I'm being completely reasonable. I'm choosing happiness over profit margins. I'm choosing people who value me as a person over those who see me as a stock symbol. You can't just walk away. Actually, I can. My shares remain mine. I'll be selling them, of course, gradually, so as not to tank the value. But I'm done letting this company define my life. An older board member, quiet until now, spoke up. And what will you do, Miss Carter? Elena looked at Luke and Chloe and smiled. A real smile, the kind that transformed her whole face. I'm going to live, Henry. Really live. Maybe I'll start a new company, something smaller, more personal. Maybe I'll teach. Maybe I'll spend a year hiking trails with people who matter to me. But whatever I do, it won't be this. She set the resignation letter on the table. Good luck, gentlemen. Mrs. Patterson, you'll need it. They walked out in silence through the hushed executive floor, past Margaret, who was openly crying, into the elevator where Chloe finally burst out. That was like a movie. You were amazing, Elena laughed, wild and free. I have no idea what I just did. You chose, Luke said simply. In the parking garage, standing between Luke's battered truck and Elena's waiting limo, reality seemed to settle. Elena looked lost suddenly, like she'd jumped off a cliff and just remembered she didn't know how to fly. Come home with us, Chloe said. We're having spaghetti tonight. Chloe, I'm sure Elena needs to. Actually, spaghetti sounds perfect, Elena said. If you have room in the truck? The three of them squeezed into the cab, Chloe in the middle, Elena's designer outfit incongruous against the duct-taped seats. As they pulled out of the garage, photographers were already gathering, shouting questions. Elena rolled down the window. Miss Carter, is it true you resigned? Best decision I ever made, she called back, then rolled the window up. They drove in comfortable silence for a while, Chloe dozing against Elena's shoulder, until Luke said, You know Cromwell's going to go nuclear. Let him. I've got the best lawyers money can buy, and now I have all the time in the world to fight him. And the money? Luke, I could lose 90% of my wealth and still have more than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Money's never been the problem. The problem was thinking it was the solution. They stopped for gas in a small town, and while Luke filled up, Elena and Chloe went inside for snacks. He watched them through the window, Elena helping Chloe reach something on a high shelf, both of them laughing at something, looking like any other mother and daughter on a road trip. His phone rang. Unknown number. Bennett? This is Richard Cromwell. I heard Elena had some kind of breakdown today. What do you want, Cromwell? To make you an offer. $5 million to disappear. Take your daughter and go somewhere Elena will never find you. Luke laughed. You really don't get it, do you? 10 million. Cromwell, she could be broke and I'd still choose her over your money. Some things can't be bought. Everything can be bought. Everyone has a price. That's where you're wrong. And that's why she chose us over you. We see her as a person, not a prize. You're making a mistake, Bennett. I can destroy you. You can try. But here's what you don't understand. I've already lost everything once. Job, wife, dreams, survived it all. And now I have something worth fighting for, so bring it on. He hung up as Elena and Chloe emerged with bags of junk food and cups of coffee. Who was that? Elena asked, noting his expression. Nobody important. She studied him for a moment, then rose on her toes and kissed him, right there in the gas station parking lot, with Chloe cheering and passing motorists honking. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me. The real me. Not the CEO, not the billions, just me. The rest of the drive was filled with Chloe's chatter about school, about her friends, about everything Elena had missed in the past week. Elena listened with genuine interest, asking questions, remembering names and details from previous conversations. When they finally reached the cabin, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. There were no news vans, yet, just Bob and Marion Thompson on their porch, waving. Heard the news on the radio, Bob called. Marion's making a celebration cake. Inside, while Luke cooked and Chloe set the table with their mismatched plates, Elena stood in the doorway watching them, tears rolling silently down her cheeks. Hey, Luke said softly, pulling her into the kitchen. You okay? I just resigned from a Fortune 500 company to eat spaghetti in a cabin with a single dad and his 8-year-old daughter. My board thinks I'm crazy. The media will crucify me. I'm about to be in the fight of my life with a vindictive ex. Regrets? She looked around the small kitchen, at Chloe carefully folding napkins, at Luke in his apron that said Dad's Kitchen in Chloe's handwriting, at the refrigerator covered in drawings and report cards and photos of moments that mattered. Not a single one. Dinner was perfect in its imperfection. The spaghetti was slightly overcooked, the garlic bread burned on one side, and Chloe spilled sauce on Elena's silk blouse. They talked and laughed and planned hiking trips they would take now that Elena had all the time in the world. We could see the northern lights, Chloe suggested. You said you saw them in Iceland. We could. Or we could go somewhere warm. Have you ever seen the ocean? Chloe shook her head, eyes wide. Then that's first on our list. The ocean. After dinner, while Chloe showed Elena her rock collection, each stone carefully labeled with where and when it was found, Luke's phone rang again. This time it was his boss from the hardware store. Luke, you need to see the news. He turned on the small television, keeping the volume low. There was Elena's resignation, as expected, but then came something else. Security footage from the Carter Industries lobby, showing Luke and Chloe arriving. But the footage had been edited, manipulated to make it look like Luke had forced his way in, like Chloe had been crying. The headline read, Unstable Man Disrupts Board Meeting, Carter's Resignation Forced. That's not what happened, Chloe protested, seeing the screen. Elena was already on her phone, calling her lawyers, her face set in cold fury. They doctored security footage. That's a felony. Margaret, I need you to pull the original files before they disappear. But the damage was spreading. Social media was exploding with the story. Luke Bennett, violent and unstable. Elena Carter, victim of manipulation. Chloe Bennett, a child in danger. Luke's phone rang. Sarah, I told you, she said without preamble. I told you if Chloe got hurt, I'd intervene. Her picture is all over the internet, Luke. They're calling you dangerous. Sarah, you know that's not true. I know Cromwell's people contacted me again. They're offering me a lot of money, Luke. Enough to start over, to give Chloe opportunities you never could. You wouldn't. I would, if I thought she was really in danger. Fix this, Luke. Fast. Or I'll do what I have to do. She hung up, and Luke stood there, feeling the walls closing in. Elena was pacing, barking orders into her phone. Chloe was curled on the couch, trying to be brave, but clearly scared. Stop, Luke said quietly, but Elena kept talking. Elena, stop. She looked at him, phone still to her ear. Hang up. All of this, the lawyers, the fighting, the media, it's exactly what he wants. We're playing his game. So what do you suggest? Luke looked at his daughter, at this brave, wonderful little girl who deserved better than to be a pawn in rich people's games. Then he looked at Elena, this brilliant, broken woman who'd given up an empire for the chance at something real. We tell the truth, not through lawyers or press releases. We just tell the truth. How? Luke picked up his phone, opened the camera, and started recording. Hi, I'm Luke Bennett. You've probably seen some pretty crazy stuff about me today. I wanted to set the record straight. He told the story simply, finding Elena in the quicksand, the friendship that developed, Cromwell's threats and manipulations, the doctored footage. Chloe joined him, adding her perspective with the honest clarity only a child could manage. Finally, Elena sat beside them, no longer the polished CEO, but just a woman fighting for her right to choose her own life. I resigned because I wanted to, Elena said to the camera. Because I found something worth more than stock prices and board approval. I found a family that accepts me as I am. And if that threatens you, if that makes you angry enough to doctor footage and spread lies, then maybe you need to ask yourself why. Luke posted the video to every social media platform he could find. Within an hour, it had 10,000 views. Within 2 hours, 100,000. Tell the Truth started trending. Margaret Chen called. The original security footage mysteriously appeared on WikiLeaks. Shows exactly what really happened. Cromwell's in damage control mode. Bob Thompson knocked on the door with his laptop. You folks need to see this. The video had gone viral, but more than that, people were sharing their own stories about choosing love over money, about workplace bullying, about standing up to powerful people who thought they could control everything. Elena's phone rang. "Hello, Henry," she said, putting it on speaker. It was the board member who'd asked what she would do. "Elena, I owe you an apology. We all do. That footage, we were shown the edited version before the meeting. Cromwell convinced us you were being manipulated. But seeing the real footage, seeing your video, we were wrong. It doesn't matter now, Henry. It does. The board wants to offer you your position back, with full autonomy and a formal apology." Elena looked at Luke and Chloe. "No. No? I meant what I said. I'm done. But Henry, Tom's not the right person to lead. You might want to consider that at your next vote." She hung up and tossed her phone aside. "So, who wants hot chocolate?" As Chloe cheered and ran to get the marshmallows, Luke pulled Elena close. "You really gave it all up?" "No," she said, looking at Chloe, then back at him. "I gave up something that was never really mine for something that is." But even as they sat together, mugs warming their hands, Chloe chattering about their upcoming ocean trip, Luke couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Cromwell was too proud, too angry to just accept defeat. And Sarah's threat still hung in the air. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You think you've won? This is just beginning. I'm going to take everything from you, starting with your daughter." Luke deleted it without showing Elena. Tonight they could celebrate. Tonight they could pretend they'd won. Tomorrow would bring what it would bring. But watching Elena help Chloe with her math homework, seeing them laugh together over a particularly silly word problem, Luke thought maybe they had won something. Not the war, that was still coming. But this battle, this moment, this choice to stand together despite everything, that was victory enough. The evening wound down with Chloe falling asleep on the couch between them, her head on Elena's shoulder, her feet in Luke's lap. The TV was on but muted, showing their video still spreading across the internet, commentators debating what it all meant. "I should go," Elena whispered, not moving. "You should stay," Luke countered. "Luke, in the guest room, but stay. Chloe will want to see you in the morning, and honestly, so will I." Elena studied his face in the flickering TV light. "What are we doing here?" "I don't know, but I know I don't want to figure it out with you somewhere else." She stayed. Luke carried Chloe to bed while Elena borrowed pajamas that were too big and made herself at home in the small guest room that doubled as Luke's office. The cabin settled into nighttime quiet, just the sound of wind in the trees and the occasional car passing on the distant road. But Luke couldn't sleep. He sat on the porch with his father's shotgun again, not because he expected trouble, but because old habits died hard. The stars were brilliant in the clear mountain air, and he found himself thinking about paths, the ones we choose, the ones chosen for us, and the ones we stumble onto by accident that turn out to be exactly where we needed to go. A board creaked behind him. Elena, wrapped in one of his flannel shirts, holding 2 mugs of tea. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked, settling beside him. "Too much to process." "Tell me about it. This morning I was a CEO. Tonight I'm unemployed, living in pajamas that don't fit, and happier than I've been in years." "Regrets will come," Luke warned. "Tomorrow, next week, next month. You'll wonder what you were thinking." "Maybe. But then I'll remember Chloe's face when you stood up to those board members for me. I'll remember you driving 3 hours just because she thought I needed help. I'll remember this, sitting on a porch in Vermont, feeling like I can breathe for the first time in years." They sat in comfortable silence, shoulders touching, watching the stars. Then Elena said, "He won't stop, you know. Richard, he's never lost anything in his life. This is eating him alive." "I know. I have resources, protection, lawyers. Let me help keep you and Chloe safe. We can take care of ourselves." "Luke, this isn't about pride. No, it's about showing Chloe that we don't run from bullies. We don't hide behind money or lawyers or bodyguards. We face things head on, as a family." "A family," Elena repeated softly. "Is that what we are?" Luke turned to look at her. This woman who'd upended his life, who'd brought chaos and joy in equal measure, who'd chosen them over everything she'd built. I think we're becoming one. If you want. I want, she said simply. They stayed on the porch until dawn painted the mountains gold, planning and dreaming and occasionally worrying, but mostly just being. Two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way, determined to build something real from the wreckage of what they'd left behind. The morning sun had barely crept over the mountains when Luke heard car doors slamming outside. He was at the window in seconds, watching a familiar figure stride up the path with two men in suits flanking her. Sarah. His ex-wife looked exactly as he remembered, sharp, beautiful, and cold as January ice. "Elena, take Chloe to her room," Luke said quietly. "Now." But it was too late. Chloe was already at the top of the stairs, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Dad? Who's outside?" The knock came hard and impatient. Luke opened the door before Sarah could knock again. "Hello, Luke." Sarah's smile was all teeth and no warmth. "Aren't you going to invite me in? I've come to see my daughter." "You haven't seen her in 2 years, Sarah. You don't get to just show up." "Actually, I do." One of the suited men stepped forward, handing Luke a document. "Emergency custody hearing tomorrow morning. Given the recent events and clear danger to the child, my client has grounds for immediate intervention." Luke scanned the papers, his stomach dropping with each word. Photos from the internet, the doctored video, statements from concerned citizens about his violent behavior and unstable relationship with a mentally compromised billionaire. "This is bullshit, and you know it," Luke said. Sarah pushed past him into the cabin, her eyes taking in everything with calculating precision, the modest furniture, Elena in borrowed pajamas, Chloe frozen on the stairs. "Hello, sweetheart," Sarah said to Chloe, her voice artificially sweet. "Do you remember me?" "I'm your mommy." Chloe pressed back against the wall. "I know who you are. Aren't you going to give me a hug?" "No, thank you." Sarah's face flickered with something, hurt, anger, Luke couldn't tell. She turned to Elena. "So you're the billionaire. You're prettier in person. Tell me, what exactly do you see in all this?" She gestured at the cabin dismissively. Elena stepped forward, and Luke recognized the CEO emerging despite the pajamas. "I see a home, a real father, a child who's loved, things money can't buy, and you apparently couldn't recognize." How poetic. Did Luke tell you why I left? Did he mention the nights he'd wake up screaming from nightmares, the way he'd check the windows obsessively, the PTSD he refused to get help for? "That was years ago," Luke said through gritted teeth. "I got help. I got better." "For her?" Sarah pointed at Chloe. "Or for your new girlfriend? Because from where I'm standing, you're exposing our daughter to violent criminals, media circuses, and God knows what else." "Cromwell got to you," Elena said suddenly. "How much is he paying you?" Sarah laughed. "This isn't about money. It's about what's best for Chloe." "If you cared about what's best for her, you wouldn't have disappeared for 2 years," Luke shot back. "I was getting my life together." "Now I have. New husband, stable home in Connecticut, excellent schools. What do you have? A cabin that's falling apart and a girlfriend who just had a very public mental breakdown." "I resigned from a company," Elena said evenly. "That's not a breakdown. The media seems to think otherwise. And judges, they care about perception." Chloe suddenly ran down the stairs, past all of them, and out the door. Luke followed immediately, finding her by the old oak tree where they'd buried her goldfish last year. She was crying silently, shoulders shaking. "Hey, sweetheart," Luke knelt beside her. "Talk to me." "Is she going to take me away?" "No, absolutely not. But she's my mom." "Don't moms always win?" Luke pulled her close. "Not always. And not this time. I promise you, Chloe, you're not going anywhere you don't want to go." "What if the judge makes me?" "Then we'll fight it. All of us. Me, you, Elena, the Thompsons, everyone who loves you." "Does Mom love me?" It was the question Luke had dreaded for 2 years. "I think she loves you the only way she knows how, but sometimes that's not enough." They walked back to find Sarah and Elena in a tense standoff in the living room, the lawyers standing awkwardly by the door. We should go, one lawyer said to Sarah. We've served the papers. Sarah looked at Chloe one more time. I'm staying at the Mountain View Hotel. If you want to talk, to get to know me again. I don't, Chloe said firmly. I don't want to know you. You left. You don't get to come back just because you feel like it. Sarah's composure cracked slightly. You don't understand, sweetheart. I had to leave. This life, this place, it was suffocating me. Then you should stay away, Chloe said with devastating 8-year-old logic. We don't want you to suffocate. After Sarah left, the cabin felt smaller somehow, like her presence had sucked out all the air. Elena was already on the phone with her lawyers, pacing and planning. Luke sat with Chloe, who was drawing with fierce concentration, a picture of their cabin with a giant wall around it and a sign that said, "No mean people allowed." Luke, Elena said, ending her call, we need the best family lawyer in Vermont. I know someone. No. Luke's voice was firm. No high-powered lawyers. That's playing into their narrative that you're using your money to control things. Then what? Tom Brennan, local lawyer, knows everyone in the county, including the judge. He handled my divorce. Luke, this is serious. Which is why we need someone who understands this place, these people. Sarah's big city lawyers will come in throwing weight around. Tom will remind everyone who really knows Chloe, who's been here for her. Elena looked like she wanted to argue, but finally nodded. Okay, your town, your call. Within an hour, Tom Brennan was sitting at their kitchen table looking like someone's grandfather with his worn cardigan and reading glasses perched on his nose, but his eyes were sharp as he reviewed the custody petition. Sarah's claiming changed circumstances, he said. The media attention, the alleged danger, your relationship with Miss Carter here. It's not nothing, but it's not everything either. Meaning, Luke asked. Meaning Judge Harrison knows you, Luke, knows Chloe. He's not going to be swayed by flash and dazzle. But, Tom hesitated. The doctored video is a problem. Even though it's been debunked, the image is out there. And this Cromwell fellow's money means they can drag this out, make it expensive. Money's not an issue, Elena said quickly. Tom studied her over his glasses. With respect, Ms. Carter, you being involved might be an issue. No offense, but you're the wild card here. Unknown quantity. Judge might wonder about stability. I'm not going anywhere, Elena said firmly. Been here what? Couple weeks? That's not exactly a track record. Tom, Luke intervened, what do we need to do? Character witnesses. School reports, Chloe's therapist. You still taking her to Dr. Ellman? Good. We need everyone who's seen you with Chloe to speak up. And, he paused, looking at Elena. You might consider keeping a lower profile, at least until the hearing. You want me to leave? Elena's voice was carefully neutral. I want you to be strategic. You show up at court, it's a media circus. You stay away, it looks like you're abandoning them. Rock in a hard place. She stays, Chloe said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Elena stays. She's family now. Tom smiled slightly. Well, can't argue with that. But we need to be smart about this. Luke, you need to show stability. Normal routine. School, work, home. No drama. I don't have work anymore, Luke reminded him. Lost my job when this all started. Bob Thompson says different. Says you're working at his garage now. That's good, honest work. Judge Harrison brings his car there. They spent the next hours preparing, gathering documents, making lists of witnesses. Mrs. Patterson from school agreed to testify, as did Dr. Ellman, the Thompsons, even Lou from the diner. The community was rallying, but Luke could see the strain on Elena, the way she kept checking her phone, watching the news coverage that painted her as everything from a victim to a villain to a madwoman. That evening, while Chloe helped Bob Thompson fix a lawnmower, her way of dealing with stress, Elena and Luke walked the trail where they'd first met. That quicksand is looking pretty good right now, Elena said weakly, attempting humor. Elena, she's right, you know. Sarah, I am a complication you don't need. If I wasn't here, if you weren't here, Chloe and I would be less than we are now. Luke stopped walking, taking her hands. Yes, this is complicated. Yes, Cromwell is making our lives hell. But Elena, Chloe smiled more in the first week of knowing you than she had in the 6 months before. That's worth fighting for. What if we lose? What if Sarah takes her? Then we keep fighting. Appeal. Whatever it takes. I could make Cromwell back off. One phone call to the right people, and his company would be under federal investigation. He has skeletons. No. We do this right, this clean. I won't have Chloe growing up thinking problems get solved with threats and power plays. Elena pulled away, frustrated. Sometimes that's how the world works, Luke. Not our world. Not the world we're building for her. They walked back in tense silence, finding Chloe and Bob covered in grease and grinning. We fixed it, Chloe announced. Bob says I'm a natural mechanic. That's my girl, Luke said, his throat tight. That night, after Chloe was asleep, Luke found Elena on the porch again, laptop open, typing furiously. What are you doing? Liquidating assets, setting up a trust for Chloe's education. If something happens, if you lose custody, at least... Luke closed the laptop gently. Stop. I'm trying to help. You are helping. By being here. By caring. But Elena, you can't solve everything with money. It's all I know how to do. The words burst out of her raw and painful. I don't know how to be normal, Luke. I don't know how to bake cookies for school fundraisers or help with homework without hiring a tutor. I know board meetings and hostile takeovers and market strategies. I don't know how to be what you and Chloe need. Luke sat beside her, pulling her close. You know how to make Chloe laugh? You know how to listen when she talks about rocks for 30 minutes straight. You know how to show up when it matters. That's all we need. Your ex-wife is going to destroy me on the stand, unstable, unfit, all of it. Maybe, but Chloe will tell them the truth. And in the end, that's what matters most. The custody hearing was set for 9 a.m. in the small county courthouse. By 7, news vans were already setting up, drawn by the story of the billionaire, the single dad, and the custody battle. Luke dressed Chloe in her best outfit, the one they'd bought for last year's school concert, while Elena put on a simple navy dress she'd had Margaret send from Boston. You don't have to come, Luke told her for the 10th time. Yes, I do, Elena replied, fixing Chloe's collar. Family shows up. Tom met them at the courthouse steps, looking grim. Sarah's team filed a motion. They want Chloe to testify in chambers, away from you both. Can they do that? Luke asked. Judge can allow it if he thinks it's in the child's best interest, prevents coaching, or pressure. Luke knelt in front of Chloe. Sweetheart, you might have to talk to the judge alone. Just tell the truth, okay? Whatever you feel, whatever you want, just be honest. What if I say the wrong thing? There is no wrong thing, just the truth. Inside, the small courtroom was packed. Luke recognized faces from town, supporters but also curiosity seekers. Sarah sat with her legal team, looking polished and confident. Her new husband was beside her, a bland-looking man in an expensive suit who kept checking his phone. All rise, the bailiff called, and Judge Harrison entered. Luke knew him by reputation, fair but traditional, a grandfather himself, not impressed by fancy lawyers or big money. Sarah's team went first, painting a picture of chaos and danger. The doctored video, despite being debunked, was entered as evidence of the volatile situation. They had photos of the media circus, statements about Elena's mental breakdown, Luke's PTSD history, his recent job loss. They presented Sarah as reformed, stable, married to a successful investment banker, living in a good school district. Your Honor, Sarah testified, tears perfectly timed, I'm not proud of leaving. But I've grown, I've gotten help, I've built a stable life. I can give Chloe opportunities, private school, college without debt, travel, culture. What can Luke offer? A falling down cabin and a girlfriend who just very publicly imploded. Tom's cross-examination was gentle but devastating. Mrs. Hamilton, that's your new name, correct? When is Chloe's birthday? April 15th. What's her favorite color? Pink? It's purple. Who's her best friend? Sarah hesitated. I've been away. Who's her teacher? I don't... What's she allergic to? I haven't been involved. No, you haven't. No contact for 2 years. Not a card, not a call, not a dime of support. But now when there's media attention, when someone's offering to pay your legal fees, suddenly you're Mother of the Year. Objection, Sarah's lawyer called. Withdrawn, Tom said calmly. Nothing further. Luke testified next, simple and honest about their life, about Chloe's happiness, about Elena's positive influence. Elena followed, dignified despite the brutal questions about her resignation, her wealth, her intentions. I love them, Elena said simply when asked why she was involved. Luke and Chloe have become my family, not because of money or media attention, but because they saw me as a person when everyone else saw a bank account or a news story. Then came the character witnesses, a parade of townspeople talking about Luke's devotion, Chloe's happiness, the real family they'd observed, not the manufactured crisis Sarah's team was selling. Finally, Judge Harrison called for Chloe to join him in chambers. She looked tiny walking away with the court officer, and Luke's heart broke a little. They waited 40 agonizing minutes before the door opened. Chloe came out first, running straight to Luke and Elena, burying herself between them. Judge Harrison followed, his expression unreadable. I've heard a lot today, he began. About money and opportunity, about stability and danger. But the most important voice in this room belongs to the child whose future we're deciding. He looked at Sarah. Mrs. Hamilton, your daughter doesn't know you. That's a consequence of your choices, not her father's influence. You can't buy your way back into her life. Then at Luke. Mr. Bennett, your situation has undeniably become complicated. The media attention, while not your fault, is real. The relationship with Ms. Carter, while apparently genuine, is new. Luke's heart was pounding. Elena grabbed his hand. However, Judge Harrison continued, Chloe was very clear about where she feels safe, loved, and happy. She spoke eloquently about her father's devotion, her daily routines, her support system here. And she spoke about Miss Carter with genuine affection, not the coached phrases I often hear. He paused, looking at all of them. Custody remains with Mr. Bennett. Mrs. Hamilton, I'm granting you supervised visitation, 1 afternoon a month, if Chloe agrees. And only if you stop this media circus immediately. Sarah's lawyer started to object, but she stopped him with a raised hand. For a moment, her carefully constructed mask slipped, and Luke saw something almost like regret. Chloe, Sarah said quietly, I know you don't understand why I left. Maybe someday you will, but I do love you, in my way. Chloe studied her for a long moment. Maybe someday we can be friends, but not today. Sarah nodded, gathered her dignity, and walked out with her husband trailing behind. The courtroom erupted in quiet congratulations, neighbors patting Luke's back, Elena hugging Chloe tight. Outside, the media swarmed, but Tom had arranged for them to exit through the back. In Bob's waiting truck, Luke's was still broken, they sat in exhausted silence until Chloe said, Can we get ice cream? It's 11 in the morning, Luke pointed out. We just won, Elena said. Ice cream for breakfast seems appropriate. At the diner, Lou refused their money. Heroes eat free, he declared, loading their table with sundaes that would horrify a nutritionist. The bell over the door kept chiming as townspeople stopped by to congratulate them, to welcome Elena officially into the community, to celebrate the defeat of outside forces trying to tear apart one of their own. But Elena's phone kept buzzing. She tried to ignore it, but finally stepped outside to answer. Luke watched through the window as her face went pale, her free hand clenching into a fist. What is it? He asked when she returned. Cromwell. He's not done. He's bought the Mountain View Hotel and says he's moving here permanently. Says if he can't have me, he'll make sure no one can. Let him come, Luke said. This is our home. He's the outsider here. But that night, after the celebration died down and Chloe was asleep, Luke stood on his porch with the shotgun again, wondering how long they could hold out against someone with unlimited resources and a vendetta. Elena found him there, wrapping a blanket around his shoulders. We could leave, she said quietly. All of us. Go somewhere he can't find us. Run? That's your solution? It's not running if it keeps Chloe safe. Luke turned to look at her. Is that what you want? To spend your life looking over your shoulder? I want to spend my life with you and Chloe. Everything else is negotiable. Elena Carter, are you proposing? She smiled, tired but genuine. Would you say yes if I was? Ask me when Cromwell's gone and life is boring again. Deal. A car engine broke the quiet night. They both tensed, but it was just Bob Thompson's truck. He got out carrying a manila envelope. This was left at my shop, he said. Note said to give it to you. Inside were photos, Elena and Luke on their walk, Chloe at school, even one through the cabin window of them having dinner. The message was clear. Cromwell was watching. That's it, Elena said, her voice cold as winter. I'm done playing nice. She pulled out her phone and made a call. Marcus? It's Elena. Remember that favor you owe me? Time to collect. Elena, what are you doing? What I should have done from the start. Cromwell wants a war. He's got one, but we're going to fight it on my terms now. Luke wanted to argue, to insist they handle this his way, but looking at those photos, at the violation of their privacy and safety, he realized sometimes you had to fight fire with fire. And Elena Carter had spent her entire adult life learning how to burn down empires. Whatever you're planning, he said, we do it together. Together, she agreed, then smiled with a sharpness he'd never seen before. Richard Cromwell is about to learn what happens when you threaten my family. The word hung in the air. Family. Not Luke and Chloe, not them and her, but family. United, unbreakable, and ready for war. The next morning brought an unexpected ally. Margaret Chen arrived at the cabin with 3 suitcases and a determined expression. If you're going to war with Cromwell, you need proper support, she announced. I've taken a leave of absence. Also, I brought your clothes. You can't strategize in borrowed pajamas. Elena hugged her assistant, her friend, tightly. Margaret, you don't have to. Yes, I do. That man tried to destroy the best CEO I've ever worked for because his ego couldn't handle rejection. It's personal now. They set up a command center in Luke's small office, technology appearing as if by magic. Within hours, Margaret had intelligence flowing in, Cromwell's business dealings, his debts, his enemies. He's overextended, Margaret reported. The hotel purchase was all leverage. He's trying to intimidate you with money he doesn't actually have. Then we pull the leverage, Elena said coldly. Elena, Luke warned, remember what we talked about. Clean. Clean doesn't mean we can't defend ourselves. Marcus, you still there? The speakerphone crackled. I'm here, and I found something interesting. Cromwell's been shorting Carter Industries stock. He started the day before the board meeting. That's insider trading, Margaret breathed. If we can prove he knew about the board's plans before they were public, Elena said slowly, that's federal prison. I'll get the SEC on it, Marcus said. But Elena, be careful. Desperate men do desperate things. As if to underscore the point, Luke's phone rang. Tom Brennan. Luke, you need to know Sarah's back. She's filed an emergency motion claiming new evidence of danger. Those photos Cromwell sent, she's saying they prove Chloe's being stalked because of your relationship. Luke felt the ground shift beneath him. She's using Cromwell's harassment against us? Apparently. Hearings tomorrow. After Tom hung up, Luke found Chloe in her room, carefully organizing her rock collection, her way of self-soothing. Hey, sweetheart. We need to talk. Is Mom trying to take me again? She's trying. But remember what I said? We fight together. I don't want to talk to the judge again. I told him everything already. I know. And you did amazing. But sometimes grown-ups don't listen the first time. Chloe looked up at him with eyes too wise for 8 years. Why does she keep coming back if she doesn't really want me? Luke didn't have a good answer for that. How did you explain pride and greed and manipulation to a child? I think, Elena said from the doorway, sometimes people convince themselves they want things for the wrong reasons. Your mom might really believe she's doing the right thing, even if she's not. That's sad, Chloe said simply. Yes, it is. That evening, while planning legal strategy, Luke noticed movement outside. A man with a camera trying to be subtle. He was about to confront him when Bob Thompson appeared with his hunting rifle. Evening, Bob said pleasantly to the photographer. You lost? Just taking nature photos. Private property. Best Nature's back that way, toward the road, about 5 miles down. The photographer tried to argue, but Bob's rifle never wavered. Finally, he left. Thanks, Bob, Luke called. Got a whole rotation set up, Bob replied. Me, Jim, Carlos, few others. Nobody's getting near this place without us knowing. The community was circling wagons, protecting their own, but Luke knew it wouldn't be enough, not against Cromwell's resources. Elena worked through the night, calling in favors, moving pieces on a chessboard only she could see. Margaret typed furiously, documents flying from the printer. Luke tried to help, but this was their world, not his. Around 3 a.m., Elena's phone rang. She listened, her face grave, then hung up. Richard's had a heart attack. He's in the hospital. Luke felt no sympathy, but Elena looked troubled. This changes things. His lawyers will claim we caused it with stress, that we're dangerous. We didn't do anything to him. No, but the SEC investigation Marcus triggered, the margin calls from his leveraged hotel purchase, the fact that 3 major investors just pulled out of his company, all that happened today. Elena, he brought this on himself. I know, but Sarah won't see it that way. Neither will a judge. The emergency hearing was a disaster. Sarah's lawyers painted them as vindictive, dangerous, citing Cromwell's heart attack as evidence. The judge, not Harrison this time, but a younger woman named Chen, seemed sympathetic to Sarah's concerns. Your Honor, Tom argued, Mr. Cromwell has been stalking my clients. His heart attack, while unfortunate, is not their fault. Nevertheless, Judge Chen said, the child appears to be in the center of an escalating conflict. I'm granting temporary emergency custody to Mrs. Hamilton while we investigate these new developments. The world tilted. Luke heard Chloe gasp, felt Elena's hand grip his arm, but everything seemed far away. No! Chloe ran to Luke, wrapping her arms around him. I won't go. You can't make me. Sweetheart, the judge said, not unkindly, this is temporary. Just a few days while we sort things out. Mr. Bennett has done nothing wrong, Elena stood, her CEO voice ringing out. This is a miscarriage of justice, and we will appeal immediately. That's your right, Judge Chen said, but for now, the child goes with her mother. Sarah approached carefully. Chloe, please. Just a few days. We'll go to my hotel, order room service, watch movies. I hate you, Chloe said quietly, devastatingly. I will always hate you for this. But she went, because the court officer was there, because Luke nodded that she had to, because sometimes the bad guys won rounds even if they couldn't win the fight. The cabin felt empty, wrong, without Chloe's presence. Elena raged, throwing things, cursing Cromwell and Sarah and the system. Luke sat silent, staring at Chloe's drawing on the refrigerator. We're getting her back, Elena declared. I don't care what it takes. Elena? No, this is my fault. Cromwell came after you because of me. I'm fixing this. She stormed out before Luke could stop her. Margaret looked at him apologetically. She needs to do something. It's how she processes. What if we can't fix this? What if Sarah wins? Margaret studied him. Do you know why Elena was really in those woods that morning? She'd just come from her father's grave. 5-year anniversary of his death. She goes every year, alone, to tell him about the company. This year, she told him she was miserable, that she'd built everything he wanted and felt nothing. Then she got lost, literally and figuratively, and you saved her. Not from the quicksand, from the life that was drowning her slowly. Margaret, she won't lose Chloe. She won't lose you. She's Elena Carter. She's taken down bigger monsters than Richard Cromwell. But Luke wasn't sure anyone could take down a system that favored biological mothers, that saw money as stability, that punished love for not fitting in neat legal boxes. His phone rang. Unknown number, some... Luke? It's Richard Cromwell. The voice was weak, strained. We need to talk. What do you want, Cromwell? Luke's voice was ice, his knuckles white as he gripped the phone. I'm dying. The words came out raspy, labored. Not the heart attack, they found something else. Cancer, stage 4, weeks, maybe days. Luke said nothing, feeling no sympathy for the man who'd torn his family apart. I need to see Elena. please. I need to make things right before... You took my daughter. Luke's voice broke. You helped Sarah take my daughter, and now you want forgiveness? I want to fix it. I can fix it, but I need to see her. Elena, please. Luke found Elena in the woods, standing at the exact spot where they'd first met, staring at the now ordinary ground where Quicksand had once trapped her. Her designer clothes were muddy, her hair wild, tears streaming down her face. He called, Luke said simply. I know, the hospital called too. He's been asking for me. You don't owe him anything. Elena turned to face him. No, but I owe Chloe everything, if he can fix this. They drove to the hospital in silence. The cardiac unit was hushed, expensive, private rooms that looked more like hotel suites. Richard Cromwell looked nothing like the powerful man who'd terrorized them. He was gaunt, gray, tubes and wires making him seem small and fragile. Elena. His voice was barely a whisper. You came. Talk fast, Richard. My family needs me. He winced at family but nodded. Sarah Hamilton. She came to me, not the other way around. I have recordings, everything. Her asking for money, planning to use the emergency custody to extort you. I gave her the photos, told her exactly what to say. Why? Elena's voice was controlled fury. Why would you do that to a child? Because I was angry. Because I couldn't stand that you chose him over me. Because I've never lost anything I wanted. He coughed, specks of blood on his lips. I've been a monster, Elena. My whole life, taking what I wanted, destroying what I couldn't have. But lying here, knowing I'm dying alone, no real friends, no family that cares about me beyond my money, I realized you were right to run. Where are the recordings? Luke cut in, not caring about Cromwell's deathbed epiphany. My lawyer has them. He'll be here soon. I've instructed him to give you everything. And Sarah, I've already called her, told her the money's gone, the deal's off. She panicked, said she's bringing Chloe back tomorrow. Just like that? Elena was suspicious. I also told her if she doesn't, the recordings go to the police. Extortion, conspiracy, fraud. She'd lose any chance of ever seeing Chloe again. They waited in tense silence until Cromwell's lawyer arrived with a box of evidence. Recordings, emails, text messages, all documenting Sarah's mercenary plan. Luke listened to one recording, his ex-wife's voice cold and calculating. I don't actually want the kid. Too much work. But they'll pay to get her back, especially the billionaire. Set me up for life. Play that for Judge Chen, the lawyer said. This all goes away. As they turned to leave, Cromwell called out weakly. Elena, I loved you. In my twisted way, I did love you. Elena paused at the door. No, Richard. You wanted to own me. There's a difference. She looked back at him one last time. I forgive you, though. Not for you, for me, so I can move forward without carrying this anger. In the parking lot, Luke's phone rang. Sarah, panicked and furious. You bastard! You turned him against me. Where's Chloe? At the hotel. I'm bringing her back tomorrow, but I want guarantees, no prosecution, no revenge. I just walk away. Luke looked at Elena, who nodded. Fine. Mountain View Hotel, noon tomorrow. And Sarah? After this, you stay gone. Forever. Trust me, I want nothing to do with any of you psychos. That night, Luke couldn't sleep. The cabin felt wrong without Chloe, even knowing she'd be back tomorrow. Elena found him at 3 a.m., sitting at the kitchen table, staring at Chloe's homework still spread out from 2 days ago. She's coming home, Elena said softly. This time. What about next time? What about when someone else decides we don't fit their idea of normal? Elena sat beside him, taking his hand. Then we fight. Again and again. Together. I almost lost her, Elena. The one thing I swore would never happen. But you didn't. We didn't. She squeezed his hand. Luke, I need to tell you something. These past weeks, the chaos, the fighting, it's shown me what I want. Not the company, not the money, not any of it. Just this. You, Chloe, this life. I want to wake up in this cabin, help Chloe with homework, learn to cook something besides pasta, maybe get married in that little church downtown, have more kids if you want them, grow old watching sunsets from that porch. I want ordinary, beautiful, real life with you both. Luke looked at her, this woman who'd given up an empire, who'd fought Goliaths for them, who sat in his kitchen at 3 a.m. in his old flannel shirt talking about ordinary life like it was the greatest adventure imaginable. Elena Carter, are you proposing? Maybe I am. What would you say? I'd say we should probably get Chloe back first. She'd never forgive us if she wasn't involved in the proposal. Elena laughed, soft and real. Practical to the end. Someone has to be. The next morning crawled by. Tom Brennan arrived at 11 with the court documents. Margaret set up a recording system just in case Sarah tries something. And Bob Thompson stationed himself on the porch with his coffee and rifle for moral support. At exactly noon, Sarah's rental car pulled up. Chloe burst out before it fully stopped, running full speed into Luke's arms. Dad! Dad, I knew you'd come. She said you didn't want me anymore, but I knew she was lying. Luke held her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo smell, feeling his world right itself. I will always want you. Always come for you, never doubt that. Sarah got out slowly, her perfect composure cracked. She looked older somehow, defeated. Here's her stuff. She set down Chloe's overnight bag. I'm leaving now. Sarah, wait. Luke set Chloe down, whispering for her to go inside with Elena. Why? Really why? Sarah's laugh was bitter. You want the truth? I thought I could do it. Play mom, get the money, have it all. But she's so much like you, Luke. Stubborn, loyal, sees right through bullshit. She spent 2 days telling me exactly what she thought of me, and she was right about all of it. I'm not mother material. Never was. You could try. No. Some people aren't meant to be parents. I'm one of them. I knew it when I left. I know it now. The money just made me forget for a while. What will you do? Go back to Connecticut. Tell David the truth, that I'm a terrible person who tried to sell my kid. See if he still wants to be married to me after that. She looked at the cabin, where Chloe and Elena were visible through the window, heads bent together over something. She's lucky. They both are. So are you. Sarah drove away without looking back, and Luke knew with certainty she wouldn't return. Whatever maternal instinct had flickered to life, greed had smothered it, and now shame would keep her away. Inside, Chloe was showing Elena her rock collection again, explaining each new addition from her 2 days away. The hotel had this garden with amazing granite. Look at the mica sparkles. We should celebrate, Elena said. Pizza night? Movie marathon? Actually, Luke said, I had another idea. Chloe, how would you feel about going to the courthouse? Why? Chloe looked worried. To file some paperwork. Elena wants to adopt you, if that's okay. Make it official that she's your... Yes! Chloe launched herself at Elena. Yes, yes, yes! Can we go now? Right now? Elena was crying, holding Chloe tight. You're sure? I already told the judge you were family. Now it'll be on paper, too. But Luke wasn't done. As they stood to leave, he dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box he'd been carrying for 2 days, waiting for the right moment. Before we go make you officially Chloe's mom, I have a question. Elena Carter, you saved yourself from quicksand, but you saved us from something worse, a life without you in it. Will you marry me? Elena's hands flew to her mouth. Chloe was bouncing beside her, chanting, Say yes! Say yes! It's not a diamond, Luke said quickly, opening the box to reveal a simple band with a small piece of polished quartz set in it. Chloe and I found the stone on our favorite trail. Bob Thompson's nephew, the jeweler, set it for me. I know it's not what you're used to. It's perfect, Elena whispered. Absolutely perfect. Yes. Yes to all of it. Marriage, adoption, this life, everything. Yes. Chloe cheered so loud that Bob Thompson came running, rifle raised, only to find them all crying and laughing and hugging. Word spread with small-town efficiency. By the time they reached the courthouse, half the town seemed to be there, cheering as they filed adoption papers. as Judge Harrison himself came out of his chambers to congratulate them, as Tom Brennan offered to handle the adoption pro bono. That evening, their cabin overflowed with neighbors bringing food, gifts, congratulations. Lou from the diner brought a 3-tiered cake he'd apparently been saving for when you all figured it out. The Thompsons brought champagne. Even Chloe's teacher came, hugging them all and whispering to Luke that this was the happiest she'd ever seen his daughter. As the sun set and the crowd finally thinned, the three of them sat on the porch, Chloe between Luke and Elena, all wrapped in the same blanket. "We need a bigger house," Elena said suddenly. "Why?" Luke asked, though he'd been thinking the same thing. "Well, if we're going to have more kids." "More kids?" Chloe sat up, eyes huge. "Really?" "If you're okay with that," Elena said carefully. "Being a big sister is a big responsibility. I'll be the best big sister ever. I'll teach them about rocks and hiking and hot chocolate and everything." Luke pulled them both closer. "We'll build on. Add rooms as we need them. Bob knows construction. We'll make this place grow with our family." "Our family," Elena repeated like she was tasting the words. "I love how that sounds." Margaret appeared in the doorway. "Sorry to interrupt, but Elena, you should see this." She handed over a tablet showing breaking news. Richard Cromwell dies at 58. Empire in shambles as investigations continue. Elena read quietly, then set it aside. "It's over." "Do you feel anything?" Luke asked. "Relief. Sadness for the man he could have been, but mostly just free." The next months passed in a blur of joy and adjustment. The adoption went through without a hitch, Judge Harrison smiling as he declared Elena officially Chloe's mother. The wedding was small, held in the little church downtown with only close friends and neighbors. Chloe was the flower girl and ring bearer and self-appointed wedding coordinator, bossing everyone around with 8-year-old authority. Elena sold most of her Carter Industries stock, keeping just enough for influence but not control. With the proceeds, she started a new company, small, focused on educational technology for rural schools. She ran it from a converted barn on their property, close enough to walk home for lunch with her family. Luke expanded his work with Bob Thompson, eventually buying into the garage as a partner. His truck was finally fixed, though Elena insisted on buying a minivan for when the new babies come. The first baby came sooner than expected. Elena found out she was pregnant just 4 months after the wedding. Chloe immediately began a campaign for a sister, making lists of names and drawing pictures of herself teaching a baby about rocks. "You know it might be a boy," Luke reminded her. "That's okay too," Chloe said magnanimously. "Boys can learn about rocks." They built the addition to the cabin that summer, neighbors coming together for an old-fashioned barn raising adapted to home expansion. Elena, 6 months pregnant and glowing, directed operations from a lawn chair, Margaret beside her with blueprints and iced tea. "Do you miss it?" Margaret asked one day. "The corporate world?" "I miss the challenge sometimes," Elena admitted. "But then I look at what I'm building here. A family, a community, a company that actually helps people. And I realize this is harder and more rewarding than any hostile takeover ever was." The baby came on a snowy December morning. A boy, much to Chloe's initial disappointment, though she immediately fell in love with him when he grabbed her finger. "What should we name him?" Elena asked from the hospital bed, exhausted but radiant. "Henry," Luke said suddenly, "after the board member who stood up for you." "Henry Bennett," Elena tested. "I love it." Old Henry himself came to visit, driving up from Boston with a ridiculously expensive teddy bear and tears in his eyes. "I voted them all out," he told Elena. "Every last one who sided with Cromwell. The company's doing better without them. And you look happy, really happy." "I am," Elena said simply. Life settled into a rhythm, chaotic but beautiful. Mornings with everyone fighting for bathroom time in their expanded but still cozy home. Chloe walking to school, proud of her baby brother in his carrier. Luke at the garage, coming home for lunch covered in grease to find Elena on conference calls while Henry napped. Evenings on the porch, watching Chloe teach Henry to crawl, then walk, then run. 2 years later, another baby. A girl this time. Sarah, surprisingly. "Are you sure?" Luke asked when Elena suggested the name. She gave us Chloe back, Elena said. She walked away when she could have made our lives hell forever. It's forgiveness, Luke, and hope that this Sarah will be different. Young Sarah was different, loud where her brother was quiet, adventurous where he was careful, but with Elena's sharp intelligence and Luke's steady kindness. Chloe, now 11, took her big sister duties seriously, teaching both little ones about trails and rocks and the importance of hot chocolate after adventures. The cabin, expanded twice more, rambled now, rooms added as needed, porches wrapped around, gardens spreading. It would never be magazine perfect, but it was theirs, filled with noise and love and the constant chaos of a growing family. Elena's company flourished, providing tablets and learning programs to schools across rural America. She worked from home mostly, traveling only when necessary and always racing back. I have a board meeting in Boston tomorrow, she said one evening, 5 years after that first meeting in the Quicksand. Want to come? We could stay at the Mountain View, show the kids where Mommy used to pretend to be fancy. The place Cromwell bought? Luke asked. New owners now, turned it into a family resort, water slides and everything. They went, all 5 of them, taking over a suite and probably terrorizing the staff, but standing on the balcony, looking out at the Vermont mountains while their children slept in a puppy pile on the massive bed, Elena leaned into Luke's side. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For saving me. Not from the quicksand, from the life I was drowning in, for showing me what really mattered. You saved yourself, Luke corrected. You chose to change. You chose us. Best choice I ever made. Even better than that hostile takeover of Dynamics Corp. Elena laughed. Especially better than that. They stood together, watching the stars, listening to their children breathe, and Luke thought about paths, how a morning hike had changed everything, how a cry for help had led to this moment, this life, this family. Dad? Chloe's voice came from inside. Henry's hogging the covers again. I'll handle it, Luke said, but Elena pulled him back for a kiss. I love our life, she said against his lips. Every chaotic, imperfect, beautiful moment. Even the quicksand? Especially the quicksand. It brought me to you. They went inside to mediate the cover dispute, to tuck children back in, to whisper goodnights and love yous. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, board meetings and homework and tantrums and triumphs. But tonight, in a hotel that had once represented everything wrong in Elena's life, their family was together, whole and happy. The quicksand was just a story now, told at dinner parties and anniversaries, each telling slightly different, always ending the same, with Elena choosing love over empires, with Luke choosing to fight rather than run, with Chloe choosing to trust that families can be made, not just born. Years later, when people asked Elena how she went from billionaire CEO to small-town mom and entrepreneur, she'd smile and say, I got stuck, then I got saved, then I got smart enough to stay saved. But Luke knew the truth was both simpler and more complex. Elena had saved herself by letting others save her too, by choosing connection over control, by discovering that the biggest risk in life wasn't losing money or status. It was missing out on love because you were too afraid or too proud to grab it with both hands. The old cabin still stood at the heart of their rambling home, its walls now covered with photos, weddings and births, first days of school and family vacations, moments large and small that added up to a life. And in the center, framed in reclaimed wood Bob Thompson had carved himself, was Chloe's first drawing of the 3 of them, labeled in careful 8-year-old handwriting, My Family. It was still the most valuable thing Elena owned,